History of Fictitious. Volume 2. Story number 4. Golden Child. Told by the scribe of legend. Written by his pencil. Prologue. The day that changed King Liam forever was when a mysterious woman knelt before his and Queen Samantha's feet. This woman had a story to tell the happy couple blessed with 2 healthy children. There once was an old man and his daughter, she said. They believed they had everything they could possibly want as the daughter found her true love. However, the daughter was barren and couldn't give birth. She was heartbroken, and her husband left her. So the old man embarked on a journey to make things right. He thought perhaps a potion would cure her. He gathered useful items from fair maidens who could have children. Then, one day, while out in the forest, he saw a girl and a king. He knew they would be precisely what he needed, so he examined them closely. To his delight, his services were required to help the poor maiden, which meant getting what he wanted in return. He went to the girl and requested 2 things that meant the most to her. Finally, he believed he had everything he needed to make the potion, but alas, the potion was a failed experiment. The old man wouldn't give up, though. He went back to find the girl and saw that things had taken a turn for the worse. A plan formed in the old man's mind. In order to save the maiden's friend, he requested that the girl give up her first child to the king. The girl agreed, and she had her first child with the king. When the old man came, though, he made them a deal as a tease. He didn't think they would possibly figure out what his name was. No one ever did. However, they did figure it out, and he was forced to flee. He never told his daughter what happened until he reached his dying breath. So that is why I am here now. I want to tell you his side of the story so you can understand his pain and suffering. He tried his whole life to please his only family member left in the world. Queen Samantha attempted to speak and ask the woman if she was the daughter in the story, but the woman cut her off. She didn't want to hear what the queen had to say. Then the woman looked over and saw the 2 children running about. Her eyes landed on the little girl, a perfect target. At her age, she wouldn't be able to remember much about her parents. "I am only a bearer of bad news," the woman said as she vanished right in front of their eyes. Then, as they turned around, they found that their little girl had vanished with the woman. This was when King Liam's heart hardened. He became opposed to all creatures that used magic, and he became like his father and his father before him. As for the child, they searched for her for many years. Soon, her existence became like a ghost. People started to believe that there had never been a second child and that there was only a son. King Liam gave up the search and went to perfect his kingdom, changing everything white. Even the flowers changed from vibrant to uniform. Little did anyone know that the lost child was on a small island by the kingdom Perry, up in the sky above them. The woman, Gothel, had locked the child in the tower, teaching her that Gothel was her mother and that her father died in a war. Along with telling the child she was her mother, Gothel also convinced the girl that witches and wizards were good. She told the child that down below in Amishi lived a ruler who would kill her on sight, that ruler being the girl's real father. However, Gothel kept the child's name from one mother to the other. Besides, Gothel believed no one would find the girl anyway once she enchanted the tower, using the remaining gold her father created to hire a wizard to perform the enchantment. Gothel didn't think she was an evil person. She was only getting what she deserved, a child to call her own, for her father's sake. She promised him she wouldn't be alone for the rest of her life and would take what was rightfully hers. In her mind, Queen Samantha and King Liam owed her a child, so she took one. Years passed, and the child turned into a beautiful woman herself. Her velvet hair was long and beautiful, reaching 7 feet in length. The child never wanted to cut her hair because she enjoyed it when Gothel came home and brushed it. It was a way to keep Gothel there longer, so Rapunzel had someone to talk to. We enter Rapunzel's story as she turns 18, a year after Edward and Ella were crowned king and queen of Amishi. Chapter 1. Rapunzel sat upon the edge of the window, overlooking the clouds beneath her. No one ever came across her tower because of magic and the fact that the island was slightly under the bigger island of Perry. So her above view was that of dirt. She lived a rather dull life and had to entertain herself daily. Thankfully, she had plenty of books and art supplies, so she spent most days reading, sketching, or painting. Then, every Saturday, she would clean. The activity she did the most, though, was waiting for Gothel to come home and waiting for something new to happen. If only I had wings or was a witch like Mother, then I could go wherever my heart desired, she sighed as she stared outside her window. Behind her was a familiar whoosh of magic, and Gothel's voice spoke, "Oh, child, you know why we are hiding. Witch hunters are everywhere these days now that Effa is in disarray. It was the only safe place for my kind." Rapunzel turned, smiling at Gothel, glad she returned safely. Gothel grabbed the girl's hands. "If they found out you were a witch's child, they would burn you, regardless if you have powers or not. You have to be lucky to become a witch. It has nothing to do with birth. That is why their logic is flawed, because their own daughters could be witches. Yet they still hunt the rest of us down." Rapunzel squeezed Gothel's hands. "You know I would never leave without your consent, Mother." The woman smiled tenderly, her brown eyes glowing with love. She moved her hand to brush Rapunzel's hair. "I know, my golden girl. You've always been an understanding and obedient child. I am very lucky to have you in my life." Rapunzel laughed. "Well, you're right about that. Even if I did have wings, I don't know where I would go anyway, and I'd probably end up back here by the end of the day." "Oh, don't worry. Once things have settled and Effa is thriving again, I intend to keep my promise to you from when you were a little girl. Do you remember what you asked for?" "Of course, to visit where you were born. You said we could go when I was 18. Gothel grimaced and strolled away from the window, taking off her maroon cloak, further revealing her countenance. She had a round face, a sharp but small nose, and brown locks that fell just past her shoulders. To many, she appeared approachable and kind. Yes, and that's what I intended until Amishi ruined everything like they always do. However, Effa remains, and I believe they will flourish in the future." She sat in an armchair, her eyes landing on a covered canvas. "Have you finished that painting of yours? You seemed very excited about it when you got the idea, though you declined to tell me what it was," Gothel asked, wanting to steer the conversation to a delightsome topic. Rapunzel rushed over to where she covered her latest project. They often sold her paintings to make money. Gothel handled the business side of things for Rapunzel, but the witch also designed jewelry and sold those as well. It was an honest living, but recently, a coven approached Gothel. They wanted her to join and step out of the shadows. She hadn't given them a response. "You ready?" Rapunzel asked. "Of course," Gothel responded. Rapunzel drew back the cloth she had used to cover her painting. Gothel stood back up, awestruck, but not for the reason Rapunzel thought. "Do you like it?" the girl asked, happy to see Gothel's shocked expression. Gothel stammered for words, but she could only stare at the painting with wide eyes. The painting featured a woman at a spinning wheel, spinning straw into gold. It was a beautiful piece and included astonishing detail, from every strand on the woman's head to the glimmer of gold. "It is lovely," she finally said, a ridiculous notion, turning straw into gold. "How did you come up with an image such as this?" Rapunzel looked at the painting thoughtfully. "I just remember a story you told me, the one about a fair girl, a young king, and the golden straw. Would you mind telling me again, Mother? I don't remember how it ended." They got married, thanks to the wizard's help. Wasn't there something more? Gothel remained calm as she turned to the girl with a smile. Indeed, but people have twisted it to make the wizard the bad guy. Just remember, Rapunzel, the wizard has a story of his own, one you will not read in your books. In the end, that young king committed far worse than the wizard ever did. Being the good girl she was, Rapunzel changed the subject. Then perhaps there is something else we can discuss. How was your meeting today? Did you accept the coven's request? No, not yet. I'm not sure I should get involved. They told me about an old ritual dating back to the beginning of our world. They believe it can enhance our powers. However, there must be 6 sisters, one to guide us and one for each of the 5 elements. They want me to represent spirit because I can transport myself anywhere and persuade the human mind. You should be honored then. Unless you think they have ill intent? Gothel frowned. They intend to fight against those who oppress us. It is admirable, but it concerns me. Oh yes, and before we can begin the ritual, we'll have to free some of the sisters and find a mysterious pendant. It's a risky business, and I like to lay low. Rapunzel sat by Gothel's feet, patting the woman's hand. But you want to do it, don't you? Those women are trapped in a freezing cellar in the snowy mountains. What did they do aside from having magic? Rapunzel, it will be dangerous, and I couldn't bear to leave you for that long. The girl smiled brightly from cheek to cheek. But it could mean we'd be able to roam free sooner, and you could protect us better than ever before. Gothel patted Rapunzel's cheek. Since I have your support, I will accept their invitation. But I will have to leave in the morning, and I don't know when I'll return. Now, for my goodbye, let me brush your hair again. Rapunzel grinned, then quickly got Gothel a hairbrush and set a stool in front of Gothel's armchair. Carefully, Gothel brushed through the girl's thick velvet hair. It was one of the moments when Gothel felt like Rapunzel's real mother. However, no one could force the truth out of their minds when it haunted them during their restless nights. In her mind, Gothel promised herself that she had made it this far with the child. Rapunzel was her daughter and would always be. The girl was raised by her and would continue to be. The world didn't need to know what happened to the ghost princess of Amishi.